so that are going to be here to authenticate video recordings. We don't anticipate that we're not wanting to offer the entire length of the recording in, because sometimes the relevant portion might be only 5 to 10% of the entire recording, and therefore we have pulled the relevant portion and embedded it in a PowerPoint presentation, and that's what we would intend to publish to the jury. We still will lay a proper foundation as the entire video recording, and we provided everything to the defendant, but I wanted to just apprise the court of that and see if there's any objection at this point.
Your Honor, I think, well, as an initial matter, I would think the entire video would have to be admitted into evidence. And then it would be a publication issue as to whether the state is required to publish the entire thing to the jury or just some portion. And I would think each of those decisions.
You're all dancing around stuff. I have no clue who made any statement of what this stuff is.
Your Honor, we intend to call someone from the Walker County Bus Garage, New Walker School District, and the video that we provided is probably in excess an hour and a half of total video from multiple different angles. Eric Campbell is seen in the video for approximately 30 to 45 seconds. And we would just like to play that portion, and that's the publication issue. We are going to lay a foundation and have the entire amount of digital data admitted into evidence.
I don't foresee any objection.
Okay. I'm right here. Second one, we're going to do that out of order.
No, Pendleton's still up here.
No, it's not going to be. No, I intend to reach it in the appropriate time, but that's just an issue that's going to be coming up.
Captain Pendleton, you'll read back to me, please. Found by the tell the truth you took before I went to recess period.
Excuse me?
Are you Captain Pendleton?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I've been calling the trooper. I know you are a state trooper.
I still answered.
I want to talk to you a little bit about when Eric came out to the crime scene that night. And I think we established it was around 20:55 in the evening. Was that about right?
I think it's
9 o'clock.
9:40 something. I think is when I did that test. I believe.
That's when you did the gunshot residue.
Right.
Were you here earlier when the trooper testified as to what time he saw? He noted that.
I think he said the 8:50. I think that's what the testimony was.
So it's about 50 minutes later when you actually spoke to Mr. Campbell.
Yes, sir.
Could you tell him what you would do?
I'm sure I did. Pretty simple test. It's real quick and painless. There was nothing to it really.
And so, speaking of that test, are you familiar with the gunshot residue data sheet?
That's inside the box?
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't you have to fill that out?
Yes, sir.
When you do one?
Yes.
And so gunshot residue, is that essentially gunpowder?
As far as I know, yes.
I mean, you're not trained to test, I understand. You're trained to actually do the kit, is that right?
Yes.
But you are trained in how to administer I call it a test, but it's really you're trying to gather information, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And now, I heard you mention before that you actually, is it a swab?
No, it's a just like little cylinders, like almost a little magnetic tip or some kind of little tape or something on the end of it, and you just dab it.
And you dab it on a person's hand.
There's 3 of them in the kit, and you got one for the right hand, one for the left hand, and then for the facial features.
And the reason, obviously, a person doesn't shoot with his face. The reason you dab the face is because when a gun shoots, it powder goes everywhere.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be the gun you're holding, does it?
No.
It can go, even if you're in proximity of the gun being shot, you could get residue on it.
That would be up for your lab technician to say, but I would say yes if you're close.
But you understand, you mentioned that there's an importance in getting these early, is that right?
Yes.
And that's because gunshot residue transfers, isn't that right?
I don't know that it transfers. It can be washed off easily.
It can be washed off or it can fall off, isn't that right?
I would assume.
It's consistency of powder.
Yes.
And you can't necessarily see it. That's why you do a test, is that right?
Correct.
Or the kit, I should say.
Yes, sir.
And you also, it is, as part of the kit, are you able to do, to test for gunshot residue in clothes?
I don't on the clothes. That kit is for their person. That particular kit we do is for the person, like their physical and their hands and face.
But you know that there's a particular, well,
I would send the clothes to the lab if I was doing that test. I don't have a kit, or we don't have a kit to do on the clothes.
but gunshot residue can also get on the clothes, right?
I would assume yes.
Objection, Your Honor. He's not a GSR expert.
Let me continue.
Well, in the kit, is there a part that says, avoid, remove the sticky tape from the desk, clothing and objects may be sampled with these?
I haven't read it, but yeah, I've never done the kit using off clothes.
Well, have you read the kit before?
Yes.
So, you might not want to get too far afield, but is there a part that says clothing and objects may be sampled with these, meaning the sticky tape from the desk?
I don't recall reading that. I'm not saying it's not in there, I just don't recall it.
Yeah, approach, Your Honor. Yes. Captain Pendleton, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit Number 5 for purposes of identification. Do you recognize that?
Yes. And
is that a form that you filled out in relation to doing the gunshot residue kit with Mr. Campbell?
I signed it. Trooper Simmons filled that out for me, as
Okay.
I told him. I could tell his handwriting.
And is it a 2-page data sheet?
Yes.
Okay. And at the back under number 10, have you read that before?
I'm sure I have, but I haven't looked at it. I don't necessarily look at this one. Do it. I've done the test many a time.
I know you've done it before, but it does give you instructions on how
Yes,
to do it.
right.
And it tells you to wash your hands first
Right.
thing.
Right.
And you try to follow those instructions, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And the point I'm making is down at the bottom, at the very bottom, under number 10, where it says do you see where it says do not remove sticky tape from the disc?
Yes.
And it says avoid collections from wet or bloody areas, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And clothing and objects may be sampled with these, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And it says do not send the objects to the lab, is that what it says?
Yes.
Okay, so that's at least what the report says, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was just trying to point, and so there's a possibility to check clothing, is that right?
From the looks of that, it sounds like it.
And that's just, it's not your practice, but that does happen.
Yes, I've never sampled clothing in my 20-year career using the GSR kit.
And one of the things you stated was that you had wished that the kit had been done earlier, is that
I'm not saying I wished it had been done earlier, just probably should have been done earlier in the fact of you can miss things. Somebody just look up and say, oh, we forgot to do that. When, I mean, that was where we were at that point, I think.
So, in the things you knew, when you took this kit, Mr. Campbell had been present when his father shot those police officers, right? He'd been behind the car, hadn't he?
Yes. As far as I know, again, you can't see his position there.
And did you know at the time that he'd actually put the gun out in the woods, a 22 caliber?
At the time that
That you took the test?
I believe so.
And did you know that before that he had been transported in a police car down to the sheriff's department?
Yes, sir.
And this was, and you took this out at the scene where they were searching for the gun and the other items, is that right?
Yes, sir.
That was about 9:40 that evening.
I believe that's what the kit's got on at 9:40.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Captain Pendleton, did you said that, I think you testified earlier that you were the evidence custodian for the investigation.
Yeah, for the Lewisburg detachment. And this is where and because the crime happened in Greenbrier County, I became the custodian of this evidence.
Did you collect, when you say this evidence, what do you mean?
This, because the evidence associated with this alleged crime that occurred in Greenbrier County, because it occurred in Greenbrier County, that's where my detachment is.
And did you collect the, did you collect the weapon that Eric Campbell used to shoot the officer?
I did not collect it per se. The crime scene team collected the evidence. They turned it over to the investigating officer, which would be First Sergeant Bowles at the time. Once he's as the investigator, then he labels or he completes the evidence log sheets and turns it over to me to go into storage in the evidence room.
So was it already packaged by the time the evidence got to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now that's something else. Would you recognize the gun that Eric Campbell used if you saw it?
Probably to a certain degree. I would recognize the package. I don't know that I remember the exact gun.
You recognize this exhibit?
Defendants Exhibit 6 for identification, is that, did you collect that weapon?
I retained it in the evidence room, and I remember seeing the weapon because it was appeared to be a pretty junky gun.
Okay. And you recognize this as being the gun they collected?
That's what that picture appears to be.
Did you remove the rounds from that gun?
I did not.
Did you determine whether all the rounds were fired in the gun?
I did not.
I know for Captain.
Mr. Direct?
Yes, sir. May I approach the witness?
Yes, ma'am.
Captain Pendleton, I'm showing you what the state has marked in State's Exhibit 117. I will give you some gloves.
Okay.
Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
It is a box used to secure a pistol, gun into evidence.
Is that the kind of box that is used by the West Virginia State Police?
Yes.
And can you tell specifically what is in this box?
In this box is a Smith & Wesson 38 special revolver, serial number 451013, containing 6 fired cartridges, casings in chamber.
And when was that collected?
This was collected January 1st, 2015 at 1934 hours.
Which is
7:34.
PM?
Yes, ma'am.
And by whom was it collected according to this box?
Senior Trooper J.C. Tubert.
And who was he?
Chris Tubert, he was assigned to the Rainell Detachment, which is also in Greenbrier County.
Was he on scene there on January 1st of 2015?
Yes, he was.
Was he part of the crime scene team that processed what's been called here Crime Scene 1?
Yes.
Did he give this to you, or at least did he package this, as far as you can tell, by this particular box?
Yeah, he packaged this box, or he collected it, packaged it, and when they were done with the Crime Scene 1, all evidence would have went to Bowles, First Sergeant Bowles. At the time.
Okay, and then did Bowles, then what happened to it?
Bowles documented it, I'm sure, for his report, done other things of nature, and then he completed evidence log sheets that we used to log evidence into the detachment. He would place in me, put some temporary evidence, then I take it from temporary evidence and log it into our evidence room.
And when you got it, was it sealed?
Yes.
And did you put it into your evidence room?
Yes, the sticker on it will indicate the number at the top here. That indicates that it's been given an official evidence number by the Washington State Police, more specifically the Lewisburg Detachment, and an evidence number, and goes in our room.
And did this, as far as you know, or you can tell from the packaging, did this leave your detachment and go to the lab?
Yes. Go ahead.
And once it went to the lab, did it come back with markings from the lab?
Yes.
And are those noted on the box?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is this in substantially the same condition that it was in when you put it into the permanent evidence locker room there at the Lewisburg Detachment, other than these stickers and markings from the lab?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you please open this? Open the box.
Okay.
And
Mind if I check it just to make sure? See, it's unloaded.
and I will mark this as State's Exhibit 117A, which would be, if you can identify 117A. Can you identify State's 117A?
It is a .38 caliber revolver in terrible condition.
Was that the same revolver that you saw in Defense Exhibit number 5 that Mr. Kendall just showed you?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. It appears to be.
And is in the same condition other than what appears to be markings from a crime lab?
Yes, ma'am.
And 117B, can you identify that?
6 empty shell casings.
And do you know where they were recovered from?
I believe they were recovered from inside the gun, as far as I know.
And is that, why would shell casings be inside of this gun?
It's a revolver. It does not eject like an semi-automatic weapon. After you fire it, the cylinder just rotates till it's empty, and the rounds will stay in the cylinder.
Your Honor,
The casings.
the state would move to introduce State's Exhibit 117, 117A, and 117B.
Most likely.
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
Thanks, sir. You stand.
Your Honor, we would ask that Captain Pendleton be released from his subpoena.
I don't think we can do that, Your Honor. Based on the prior discussion.
Okay. Thanks, sir. You stand. You need to explain to him what we did.
I think it means I'm staying now.
We can put it on standby, sure, certainly, I mean, from our standpoint.
Y'all just,
I think they need to work with you, that's out of time.
okay.
We've had it on. Now, step out, well,
Yes.
We're ready to see.
Yes.
No, the state would call Gary Edmonds.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear that this is true, the truth, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Will you please state your name for the court?
Gary Edmonds,
And Mr. Edmonds, where do you live, sir?
Pearland, Texas.
And what sort of work do you do in Pearland, Texas?
I own an air conditioning business.
How long have you run that business?
14 years.
Where is Pearland, Texas in relation to Alvin, Texas?
About 15 minutes away.
And where is it in relationship to Houston, Texas?
About 20-minute drive.
So if you could describe how that would look on a map.
Houston would be north and Alvin would be south.
And would Pearland be in the middle?
Yes.
So in between the two.
Yes.
Do you know Eric Campbell, the defendant in this case?
I do.
And how do you know him?
He was an employee of mine.
And when did he come to work for you?
It was the year of 2014, about August, September, around in there.
How did he come to work for you?
He had applied for the job of a helper. He was going to school at San Jac College.
When you say San Jac, is that the full name of it?
At San Jacinto College.
And what was he in school for, if you know?
HVAC, air conditioning.
And had you posted a job opening?
I had just told them if I had any students who were interested, that I would be interested.
And what sort of job did he take with you?
Helper and installer.
What does that mean that he was doing for you?
Running service calls and also helping my installers put in air conditioning equipment.
What's the name of your business?
Payless Cooling and Heating.
How many service technicians do you have?
3.
So you did hire Eric Campbell to work for you, you said in August or September of 2014?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
showing you what I've marked as State's Exhibit number 118. Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes,
And what is it?
it's Eric's checking statements. I
And
mean,
so-
where we paid his paychecks.
And is this a complete record of when he received a paycheck from you?
Yes, it appears so.
And when was the first time that he received a paycheck?
September the 26th, 2014.
And is this, did you make this copy or print this out or have someone in your office do
Someone
that?
in my office, yes.
And is this a fair and accurate record keeping basically of when you wrote a check to Eric Campbell?
To my best memory, yes.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit into evidence State's Exhibit 118.
Any objection?
That's
No, go ahead.
And if you can tell from here when the first paycheck was that was written to Eric Campbell.
September the 26th, 2014.
So would it be fair to say that he started working for you in September?
Yes.
And what is your pay? What are your pay periods like?
Once a week.
And so would he have worked a week and gotten paid for it?
Yes, we hold back a week, actually.
Okay, so
So
he
it-
may have worked for 2 weeks.
Yes, yes.
And in looking at State's Exhibit 118, when was the last paycheck that was written to Eric Campbell?
12/19/2014.
So he received a check starting in September of 2014, and the last paycheck was when again?
December 19th, 2014.
Thank you. Did he work any more for you after he received a check on December the 19th of 2014?
No, ma'am.
Describe the defendant as an employee.
Rookie at it, of course, but very bright, very easy to learn, soaking up the business. I thought he would have a good future in it. He came to work on time every day.
Did he drive a car?
Yes.
Did he have a driver's license?
As far as I know, he could not be employed unless he did.
Did you spend a lot of time with Eric Campbell?
Yes, he rode with me in my work van, and we rode to several calls.
So although you had technicians that worked for you, I take it that you also responded to calls and you also work as a technician. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
Did he ride in your work van the whole time you guys were working and he worked for your company?
No, he did spend time with the installers, and he did go out on his own.
About how long did he ride with you?
3 weeks, maybe, out of total.
Did he ever talk about his family?
Very little.
Do you know whether he lived at home with his family or if he had his own residence?
I did not know for sure.
What did you believe?
At one time, he told me he had been living in a barn of some lady, but he didn't give very many details on that.
Did he ever mention anything about his father?
It was every now and then.
What sort of things did he say?
Well, it was just more about his father calling him while we were in the truck, but didn't give big details on it.
Could you hear his father through the phone?
No.
How did Eric seem to feel about these phone calls that he received from his father?
Sometimes irritated that he was bothering him while he was at work.
Would he say that to his father?
Yes.
What did he say, if you remember?
I don't remember exactly, just that he was there. I remember him being irritated, and he didn't want to bother me. You know, he wanted to be focused on work.
So would he get off the phone with his dad?
Yes.
Would he hang up the phone on his dad?
I don't remember that, just, it was short conversations.
Did you have any conversation about Eric Campbell about his father being in jail?
Very little, just that he was anxious to get him out.
That Eric was anxious to get his father out?
Yes.
Did you ever go to a residence where Eric Campbell was, which was unrelated to your work business?
Yes.
And where was that, if you remember?
I don't remember the exact address. It was a house in Alvin.
And when was it that you responded or went to this house?
It was somewhere before the beginning of December.
And why
I
did you
don't know the
go-
exact date.
I'm sorry?
I don't know the exact date.
But before, sometime in November?
Yes, late November.
Why did you go to this residence in Alvin, Texas?
Eric asked me to come look and see if there was something I might be interested in there. There was tools there that I might be interested in.
Interested in how?
Well, he was getting ready to sell everything he could
Why was he selling everything he could?
to try to get his father out of jail.
Did you buy anything from him?
Yes, a small a bicycle holder. You attach it to the bumper that you can put your bicycle on. I think it was $20.
Was Edward Campbell at the residence there in Alvin, Texas?
No.
To your understanding, where was Edward Campbell?
I understood he was still in jail because that's the reason he was selling the stuff to try to get him out.
When Eric was riding with you and did talk about his family, did you think anything was out of the ordinary or anything other than normal?
The only thing I noticed with Eric, just irritated when his dad called, and anything to do with that, he was wanted to be more focused on the air conditioning to make more money. He had been to school for that, and I was encouraging him to pursue it.
And did he tell you why he was interested in making money? Was there any specific reason?
Well, he was looking towards going into the more commercial end of the air, and try to get more schooling, but also to try to get his dad out was another reason.
And on Sex Exhibit 118, you testify that Mr. Campbell's last paycheck was written on December the 19th. Why is that? I mean, why did he stop working for you?
He had, I assumed, had gotten in an accident and was hurt and didn't want to come back, hadn't come back to work for a while.
When you say you assumed he had been in an accident, why did you make such an assumption?
The last time I had seen him, he had been bruised and scratched and had told me he had been in an accident.
Did you see his car?
Yes,
Did it appear to have been in an accident?
yes.
Did Eric Campbell ever mention anything to you about Holly Campbell, his stepmother?
I only remember one conversation. It was about not being able to get the title to his car from her.
What did he say about that?
It's just that she was holding the title and that he had been trying to get it for several months.
Did he ever mention anything else about her?
That was it that I know of.
Did he ever talk to you about the circumstances of why his dad was in jail?
Not really, no.
When was the last time that you saw Eric Campbell?
It was just Christmas Eve, 2014,
And where did you see him?
at my residence.
And that's in Pearland, Texas, or, I'm sorry, Pearland, Texas?
Yes. Yes.
About what time was it?
That I don't remember. Probably around lunchtime, 12.
Tell us about that.
I was working in my inside my van. You can stand up inside it, and I just happened to turn around, and Eric was standing at my van door, and kind of startled me at the moment. I didn't hear him come up, and just that he was asking for his last paycheck, coming to pick up his last paycheck.
Had he called to tell you that he was coming, or was this an unannounced visit?
Unannounced.
Did you see what he was driving?
I did not.
Did you see if anybody was with him?
I did not.
What, if anything, did he say to you?
Just general conversations, how I was doing, and I asked how he was doing and what his plans were, and he said he didn't know right at the moment, but he would like to come back to work for me, but at the time he wasn't going to.
And that's what he told you?
Yes.
Did he say anything else?
Nothing I remember.
Did he mention to you at all that he was going out of town or heading on a trip or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
Did Eric ever mention that he had a girlfriend or any sort of relationship at all?
Yes. It was a young girl. I believe she was about 19, but that was early on when we were working together.
Did he mention her later in the last several months that you worked?
No. Just was going out on a date with her. And
So he worked for you starting the middle of September, all of October, all of November, and when was the last time he worked for you, if you remember?
I honestly do not.
So sometime before December the 19th.
Yes. Yes.
When Eric Campbell came to your house on December 24th, was that to get that December the 19th check?
Yes.
May I approach you now? This doesn't indicate on here how much the checks were for, is that correct?
No, it does not.
Had he worked for you a whole lot the month of December?
No.
And why not?
Because of the accident, I believe.
You said that Mr. Campbell worked with you some, he worked with the technician some, and then he began to do some calls on his own?
Yes.
And so would that be, he would respond to customers' homes by himself and do work?
Yes.
And did he seem to do well with that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. I don't have anything further.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Mr. Campbell, how are you doing this afternoon, Mr. Evans?
Fine. Thank you.
Mr. Campbell worked for you for about 3 months.
Yes.
And what kind of work did he actually perform? What was his day like when he was working for you?
For a little while, rode with me, carried the tools. I'd show him how to diagnose, and then he would later go with my installers and watch them install, put the equipment in, and help him with that, and help him wire it in and weld it in, weld the copper lines, and he caught on to that very quick.
Is that unusual for people to weld that quickly?
It is, but they do teach you in the college, but it's very little. You have to actually get out and do, to do better at it.
And Eric worked hard.
Yes, he did.
And when he worked for you, he got paid about $10 an hour.
Yes.
And he worked for you normally about $30, $35 a week.
Yes.
And it sounds like he was a pretty good employee.
Yes.
What were your impressions of Eric, just generally?
I thought he's very bright, but still young at it. But my customers liked him a lot. I thought he had a bright future.
And did he get along with the other people in your office?
Absolutely.
I mean, no one was scared of him or
Oh,
anything?
no.
Now, you mentioned that he had told you something about living with an elderly woman in the barn. Is
Yes.
that right?
Yes.
Did you ever go to his
No, I
residence?
did not. No.
But you did go to his father's house?
Yes.
One time?
Yes.
Is that correct? If you described, you kind of drove up to his father's house, what's your impression?
The outside was fine. The inside was a wreck. The house was totally trash everywhere, destroyed, everything in disarray.
Were there any things you saw there that were concerning or unusual other than that?
Just as I described.
And where exactly did you go inside the house? What were
The kitchen, living room area, and then in the backyard.
what did the backyard look like?
It was about the same.
Was there a high fence in the backyard? Did you see the fence?
No. No things.
Were there like a dug up project in the backyard?
A pool. They were working on a pool, cleaning out a pool.
Did it look like a pool you wanted to get into?
No. No water.
Now, you were there because Mr. Campbell had asked you to come look at his father's tools and other things to see if there's anything you want to buy. Is that correct?
Yes.
What were the condition of those tools? Or what kind of things did you look at?
Well, it was mostly drywall tools, nothing of value, really.
And when you say nothing of value, do you mean nothing of value to you or just?
Nothing of value to me, right, in my business, yes.
Now, did Eric ever talk to you about his father?
Very little. I didn't get any details on him, no.
From your conversations with him, did you have any impression of his father?
No, not really, just the annoyance, the phone conversations, but that was it.
Was it frequent that his father would call him while y'all were in the car together?
Yes,
And was it your understanding those calls were being made from jail too?
yes.
Did you get the sense from the way Eric talked on the calls that he had lots of conversations with his father?
Yes.
And that it was kind of a constant thing that his father would call him and have conversations with him?
I don't know if it was more than maybe 4 times, or 5 times maybe at the most.
And Eric didn't want to talk with him, he wanted to get off the phone and get back to work.
Yes.
Now, did there come a time when Eric stepped through the ceiling of a customer?
Yes, he did.
If you would, tell the jury a little bit about what happened.
Well, he was on a call, service call, and his foot had hit the sheetrock, so it had cracked it. Eric called me immediately and told me what was going on, and then said he would go back on his own time and fix the sheetrock. And after I talked to the customer, they were very happy with that and very pleased that he responded quickly.
And based on the way he handled that experience, I mean, did that give you a high impression of Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Now, I think you testified that there came a time when you saw Mr. Campbell had some injuries and had a damaged car, is that correct?
Yes.
And that his last paycheck would have been for, issued on 12/29, is that
Or
correct?
12/19.
I'm sorry, 12/19.
Yes.
And so it would have been sometime a week or so before that he would have stopped working.
Yes.
Now, when he came and told you, that he hurt his neck in that accident, is that what he told you?
Well, it was just bruises all over his face and neck. I do believe the neck, yes.
And when he told you that he needed to take some time off for that, I mean, did you tell him that that was okay, or did you tell him that he was losing his job? Or anything?
Oh no, I didn't. He was welcome to come back.
And from your perspective, when he told you that, were you saying to him, take the time you need to heal up, and we'll be ready for you when you come back?
Yes, that is not my busy part of the season, so it would have been fine.
And you would have been happy to have Mr. Campbell come back and be an employee?
Absolutely.
I guess I have one moment. No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Ed.
You correct?
No, sir.
Thanks, sir, you stand. Yes, can you be released?
Yes, we would, Your Honor.
And would we also, oh, no, we didn't say anything. We have no objection to being released.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
For that mistake.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. The state was called Dusky Hall.
Place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear that evidence you should give the court and the jury should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. Will you please state your name for the court?
Dusky Hall,
Ms. Hall, where do you live, ma'am?
Huntsville, Texas.
And where is Huntsville, Texas in relation to Houston, Texas?
About 70 miles north.
Do you know where Alvin, Texas is?
I do.
And where is Huntsville, Texas in relation to Alvin, Texas?
The same north,
Do you know about how far away it is?
probably about 90 miles north.
And where do you work?
New Waverly ISD.
What does that mean?
New Waverly Independent School District.
So you basically work for the school system?
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
And is Huntsville in New Waverly, or is New Waverly the town, or is that the county?
New Waverly's the town.
And what county is that in?
Walker County.
What county is Huntsville in?
Walker County.
So the school districts are not countywide, they're by a city, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is your position with the New Waverly School District?
I'm the Director of Technology.
And what does that mean?
I manage all the computers, anything technology, servers, wireless access points, anything technology.
Does that include any surveillance systems?
Yes, ma'am.
And does the New Waverly Independent School District have a security surveillance system?
Yes, ma'am.
And what type of system is it?
It's an access camera server system.
And what does that mean?
That's the brand of the cameras. So,
Are they installed at all of the schools or any
Yes, ma'am.
property that's owned by the school district?
yes, ma'am.
How many schools are there in the New Waverly Independent School District?
4.
And is that every school in the school district? What are the schools there?
So the elementary school, the intermediate school, the junior high, and the high school.
So if you were in the New Waverly School District, you go just everybody goes to the same elementary school almost
Yes.
up through the time that they graduate from high school?
There's 4 campuses. So the elementary's a campus, the intermediate's a campus, the junior high's a campus, and the high school. So you do move buildings, but yes, you stay in the New Waverly Independent School District.
And are the buildings, although they're on their own campuses, are they all there together, or are they spread out throughout the
They're
town?
spread out throughout the town, but the town's really small, so.
Is there a security surveillance system at the New Waverly Junior High School bus garage?
Yes, ma'am.
How many cameras are there?
1.
Does this bus garage house buses for just the junior high school or for the entire school district?
The entire school district.
Have you been trained to operate this system?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you use this system daily?
Yes, ma'am.
Generally, how does this system work?
So whenever the camera records motion detection, it leaves a notice on the server with a red mark where we know that there's been recordings.
And how is it stored?
It's stored on my servers or a storage area network system.
And through the system, are you able to retrieve a particular image or videos from one of your security cameras?
Yes, ma'am.
And how is that done?
With the Access Camera software, you can go and pull the images off of the server.
And have you done this procedure often?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working on January the 2nd of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you contacted about retrieving video from the bus lot or garage there on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did you do as a result of that call?
I remoted into the server and found the footage.
When you say remoted into the server, what do you mean by that?
So you log into the server. I was not actually at school because we were off on holiday, Christmas holiday, and so I remoted into the network to get on the server to retrieve the footage.
And what footage did you retrieve?
The footage of the day the Suburban was taken.
So when you were contacted on January the 2nd of 2015, what were you told?
The Suburban had been stolen.
And when you say the Suburban, what do you mean?
We only have one.
So when you say we, are you talking about the New Waverly School District?
Yes, ma'am.
I take it on the bus garage out there is a Suburban that belongs to the school district?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it parked and housed that you know of in this,
It's usually parked in front of it, right by the camera.
and when you said you retrieved footage, how do you do that?
By logging into the server and looking at the footage.
And did you do that?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you know what day that you were looking for?
No, I just knew when we left, the Suburban was there, and that the time that had passed and those dates, I needed to look at those dates.
And when you say you left, I take it that's when the school closed for Christmas break?
Yes, ma'am.
What date was that, if you remember?
We usually close around December 19th or so, and have a 2-week break for Christmas.
So did you start on December the 18th or 19th and review all the footage, or how did that work out?
So I just looked at day by day, and I could see the Suburban still parked in front of the bus garage. And whenever I skipped around until I found the dates that it was gone, and then I just backed up until I found whenever they were on the tape.
And did you make a recording of that?
Yes, ma'am. I stored the image, the clip of them, probably 10 minutes before, and then, as it drove off, I stored that.
And how many camera views are there at the bus garage?
Just that one camera.
Does it give any different views at all?
No, it was stationary on where the Suburban was parked.
And did you record that and turn it over to somebody from the Walker County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you review that footage before you gave it to them?
Yes, ma'am.
And have you reviewed that footage since then?
No, ma'am.
But was it, when you recorded it, was all of the surveillance video equipment in proper working order?
Oh, yes.
And you obviously are familiar with how that works.
Oh, yes. I built it.
I'm sorry?
I built the camera server and installed the cameras.
So you're quite familiar with it?
Oh, yes.
And it
Yes.
was working, well, let me ask you this, what date did you see, does the video actually show a person getting in the Suburban and driving away?
Yes.
And what date was that?
I think it was December 24th.
Of 2014?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hall, you said that you gave the video to the Walker County Sheriff's Office, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 119. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And what is it?
It's the video.
And this is the one that you provided to them?
Actually, it looks like they made it because they put their sticker and stuff on it. So
Okay.
I would have given it to them, and then they would have burned it to this disc.
Okay. But you reviewed what you gave to them, is that correct?
Oh, yes.
And is there any way to alter or delete or change this in any way once it's been made?
No, ma'am, not on a burned DVD.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit into evidence State's Exhibit 119.
Nick, yeah.
Yes.
Last.
Permission to publish what we believe is a relevant portion of the video.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hall, if you can just describe what we're looking at here.
So this is the camera on the front of our transportation building, and the Suburban is here, and obviously there's a bus here. It's a 2-bay shop, and the camera's looking down at the.
Do you remember
Suburban.
what time the footage captured?
I think it was like 8:30 a.m. They're probably gonna want me to fix it.
Hey,
They're gonna want me to fix it, right?
Probably. So when the date at the top, I'm gonna guess, can you just explain what the date is on top there?
That's the date and the time.
And so when that says 12/21, was it 12/21 or was it December the 24th?
I don't remember, to tell you the truth. I don't remember. Maybe it was the 24th. Or the 21st.
Did you come to the bus garage, let me just ask you this, were there representatives from the Walker County Sheriff's Office that called you on January the 2nd of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you actually come to the bus garage, or did you do that, can you do that remotely from your house?
From my house.
And did you give them the information that you had discovered after reviewing the relevant portion?
Yes, ma'am.
And if they had noted in their report that it was December the 24th that was recorded, or at least that that's what you said, is that possible?
Yes.
Could it be possible that those times were just off?
Maybe. The timestamp on the camera could have been, but the server would have it on the day that the recording was.
And so if drawing your attention to the top
Yeah.
left-hand corner,
Yes.
what does that say?
That's actually the server timestamp, which is right. This
And
is
what does the server timestamp say?
12:24 at 8 a.m. And I know that's pretty sure. I remember that 8 a.m. It looks like you have a whole hour.
Did you record all of the, relevant portions or just what you saw?
Just what I saw. And it looks like I did it for an hour.
Are you familiar with this bus garage?
Mm-hmm. My office is right next door.
What, is the road there? Where does that lead?
Nowhere. It's a dead end. There's nothing down there.
How far away is New Waverly from Huntsville, Texas?
14, 15 miles probably.
Are you familiar with the Huntsville State Park?
Yes.
Is that like a national forest type?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it heavily wooded?
Very.
Would you describe it as a forest or woods?
Oh, yes, for sure.
How far away is that from this facility?
5, 6 miles probably. It's between New Waverly and Huntsville.
So take a little time to walk it, but you could. Is that
Oh,
a
sure.
fair statement?
Yes.
I don't have any further.
Thank you, Alan. So just so I can be totally clear, the time at the top is the timestamp the server makes when it copies this video, is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you said, you testified that the timestamp was December 24th, 2014 at 8 o'clock a.m. That means that's when this video started, is that correct?
Correct.
So what we saw of the individual taking the Suburban was about half an hour into that video. It would be around 8:30.
Yes.
Which I think is what you testified.
Yes.
What time you thought that was.
Yes.
Originally. Now from New Waverly, Texas to Houston, it's about an hour away.
Yes, it is.
And from Alvin is just a little bit further past that. It's about 20, 30 minutes.
So probably an hour and a half.
So probably an hour and a half
Mhm.
from New Waverly to Alvin, assuming you can get through the Houston traffic.
That's true.
And I imagine sometimes a day, Houston traffic is difficult.
Right. Christmas Eve, it probably wouldn't be a lot of people.
Other times not as bad. And when you pulled this, you looked at a larger amount of video, is that right?
Yes.
And you just pulled the part that had someone in it doing something.
Right.
So there weren't any other parts of the video that showed another person being involved?
Oh, no.
Just what was shown?
Yes.
And that was just one person who saw it?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Be record.
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. You can stand up.
Your Honor, I would ask that Ms. Hall be released from her subpoena.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Brother else, state.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. The state would call Roland Oliphant.
hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear that evidence you give before the jury is true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Will you please state your name for the court?
Roland Oliphant,
And where do you live, sir?
Huntsville, Texas.
Where do you work?
New Waverly ISD.
The Independent School District?
Yes, ma'am.
What is your job position with the New Waverly ISD?
Director of Transportation.
What does that mean? What are your job responsibilities?
Responsible for all the buses, maintenance, routes when it concerns the school district as well as our students.
And were you working in this capacity December of 2014 and January of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you called to the New Waverly Junior High School bus garage on January the 2nd of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And why were you called there?
I was called out to fuel up a bus because I had one of the coaches needed the bus for a volleyball game.
So when you were called to deal with the bus, what time did you go out there on that call?
On that call, it was, I'm going to say about 11. It might have been about 11 o'clock.
And is that in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you go and handle that, handle what you needed to handle there,
Yeah.
at filling up the bus and taking care of that?
Yes, ma'am.
When you went out there, were you making note of, or did you notice anything about a particular Suburban?
No, ma'am. Nothing at all.
How many Suburbans does the New Waverly ISD have?
One.
Where is it kept?
Right there on the at the front door on the right-hand side
Front door of what?
of the bus barn.
The bus barn, is that where your office is?
Yes, ma'am.
After you got the bus filled up and situated for the volleyball game, did you leave the bus garage area?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you called back later that afternoon?
Yes, ma'am. I went back that afternoon because I had bought my son a new camouflage hoodie jacket, and he had been bothering me about it. So I went back that afternoon. I guess it was about 4 o'clock or so.
And that was on January 2nd that you went back for that?
Yes, ma'am.
At some point did you ever find the camouflage coat?
No, ma'am.
Where was the camouflage coat left, if you know?
It was on the hanger in my office.
On January the 2nd, did you encounter the Walker County Sheriff's Office at the bus garage?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see them when you went out to check on the coat?
Yes, ma'am.
And why were they out there?
They were out there looking around because they usually do the patrol of the area. And when I went into the office is when I noticed that my office window was broken.
And were they, do you know whether they had been contacted by some officials in West Virginia to tell them about the Suburban of the bus garage being stolen?
No, ma'am, I have no idea.
When you arrived January the 2nd, was the Suburban gone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And were the Walker County folks out there to investigate that?
Yes, ma'am.
Before January the 2nd, when was the last time you had been on campus or had been around the bus garage?
The 19th or the 20th, because I was the last one that drove the Suburban. I always parked it there because of the camera system.
You mean parked it where we saw it in the video?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you mean because of the camera system?
Because of where the camera system sits, it's activated by motion. And anything that comes within the campus or the office area, it can be seen.
How long have you worked for the New Waverly school system?
11 years.
And has it always been there at the bus garage?
Yes, ma'am.
And has your office always been there in the, what I believe you call the bus barn?
Yes, ma'am.
Does anybody else share that office with you?
No, ma'am.
Describe the office, if you will.
Small. Desk, computer system,
two windows, air conditioning system, a door.
And how do people have access? Well, let me ask you this. Are you the only one who drives that Suburban?
90% of the time, yes, ma'am.
If somebody else with the school system was gonna drive it, how would they go about doing that?
They would have to send me a travel request form through our email system. Yes.
And would you give them the key, or is there a place that the keys are and they would have access to?
They would have to come in and I would have to give them the key.
Where do you store all the keys?
The red box and the key that go to the Suburban is number 32.
And the red box, is that somewhere in your office in the bus barn?
No, ma'am, it's outside of my office there inside the bus barn itself.
So I take it the bus barn is a larger room and your office is,
Yes, ma'am.
like a room within that?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Oliphant, I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibits number 120 through 132. If you will just take a moment and look at each one of them.
You want me to describe them, please?
If you can just look at each one and then I'll ask you some questions about them.
Okay.
Do you recognize each one of those photos?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you with somebody from the sheriff's office, at least walking around while they were taking these pictures?
Yes, ma'am.
And do they fairly and accurately represent the way that the school bus lot, the bus barn, its surroundings, and your office looked on January the 2nd of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And would these pictures aid you in illustrating your testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, the state would move to introduce State's Exhibits 120 through 132 into evidence for illustrative purposes.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Motion allowed.
Permission to publish?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Oliphant, these pictures will be on the television here. I'm showing you first State's Exhibit number 120. Can you explain what this is?
The building to your right is our intermediate school. The beige colored building is the bus barn. The beige colored dually truck, that's the constable's truck. The red truck, dually truck, is our assistant superintendent, and that's the sheriff department's truck, the white Tahoe.
And State's Exhibit number 121. And if you need to get up from your seat, I believe that's okay for you to point out everything you need to. Is this just a more up-close picture of 120?
Yes, ma'am.
And so the beige building that we're looking at, sort of the aluminum building, what is that?
That's the bus garage. That's where I do the maintenance work on the buses.
So those what look like sally port or roll-up doors, you can drive a car in there?
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 122. What is that?
That's the bus barn.
I'm sorry?
That's the bus barn.
And is this normally where the Suburban is parked?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you can show us where that is. Do you know where the camera is?
The camera is over at the intermediate school on a pole that sits outside. The camera rotates according to motion.
Okay. Is there a camera on the top or one that views from the top of the bus barn?
Yes, ma'am. It's located up there in the top.
State's Exhibit 123. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
That's the left side of the bus barn.
And is that the door that goes into the building?
Yes, ma'am.
And number 124. What is that?
That's further up the left side of the building. That's the front window part, the first window to the bus barn, and the second window that's higher up is the one to the office.
So that leads directly into your office?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what that cardboard or is in front of the window there?
No, ma'am, it wasn't there.
You didn't put that there?
No, ma'am.
Was it there when you left on December the 19th and 20th?
Not to my recollection, no, ma'am.
Number 125. What is that?
That's the window to the office.
And what do you notice about the window?
It's broken.
Was it broken when you left on December the 19th or December the 20th?
No, ma'am.
And showing you State's Exhibit 126, I believe that's just a more up-close picture, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that your computer there?
What that is, we had that set up, Ms. Hall had set that up for the drivers that would come in, that they could clock in and out through that particular computer there.
Was it destroyed or harmed because of the open window that you recall?
No, ma'am.
And that leads into your office.
Yes, ma'am.
State's Exhibit 127, do you know what that is?
It's a hand of a screwdriver.
And do you know where that was located?
No, ma'am. I don't use that particular screwdriver that heavy with that end around it because it's usually for electrical screwdrivers. I don't use that kind.
So that's not yours that you know of?
No, ma'am.
And State's Exhibit 128, I believe that's just an up-close picture of that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You say that's not your screwdriver?
No, ma'am.
And State's Exhibit 129, it looks like that's 3 different images. Can you tell what that is?
Yes, ma'am. It's all really the same image. The office is here. This is the upstairs area. This is the first bay. It just moves over a little bit and further over, but it's really just showing the same section, and it shows the whole area of the bus barn.
And in the far right image, do you notice what is the red door that seems to be
That's the key box.
that everybody, that's where you would get the key for the Suburban
Yes, ma'am.
or any other bus or car?
Anything that moves that have an ignition in it, that key is there.
In States 130, what is that?
That's the key box.
And States 131, what does that show?
That show that the key for 32, which is the Suburban, is missing.
Are there any other keys missing?
No, ma'am.
I mean, none that aren't spoken for or that somebody's supposed to have?
No, ma'am.
And States 132, what is that?
That's the door going into my office.
And that's where the window's broken?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that door stay open when you're not there?
The door is always locked because I have computer stuff that a lot important that keeps up with all of the records and everything for each and every bus.
When you came on January the 2nd, was that the condition that it was in? It was open?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was your son's camouflage coat? Where was the last?
Inside of this door, I have a hanger that's there, that's up there all the time, and that's why I have the coat hanging there. gotten it before we left to go for holiday break.
Have you viewed the video, or were you in the courtroom when the video of the person taking the Suburban? Have you seen that?
Yes, ma'am, I was there when Miss Hall sent the video over.
Do you recognize the coat that's in
Yes,
that video?
ma'am.
And what is it?
That's my son's camouflage hoodie coat.
And that's what you haven't seen it since then?
No, ma'am.
I don't have any. Did you have any other involvement in this case, Mr. Alfon?
No, ma'am, not at all.
I don't have anything further, Your Honor.
With the,
Mr. Alford,
Yes.
I don't think I have any questions.
thanks, sir, you may stand.
Thank you.
Any objections in the lease? Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take our afternoon recess at this point. During our afternoon recess period, the duty of all of you not to talk among yourselves about this case. You do not to talk to anyone else, to allow anyone else to talk to you, or to say anything in your presence about this case. If anyone does that, give that to Sheriff about it. When you come back, they have no contact with anyone or communication with anyone participating in this trial. Don't do any independent research or investigation on your own about any issue in this case, and do not form or express an opinion about this case during this time. That, for everyone else, court remains seated. I'm going to excuse the 18th of you and ask that you return and assemble in the chair room at 10 minutes to the hour 4. If that's your excuse. Raise your flag, all yours ask for anything record to state.
Nothing to have to say.
Anything record to state. Anybody else need to catch a plane?
I think we've got everybody who needs to get on their plane today. We have one other witness. We just have to check that out, but I think we made it happen.
Okay, we in recess 10 minutes.
Board be in recess 10 minutes.
Brother Anderson, say.
Yes, sir, Your Honor. The state would call Holly Smoot.
Your place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. These signs swear that evidence you should be the court and the jury should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you, ma'am. Come in, have a seat.
Can you please state your name for the court?
Holly Smook,
And where do you live, ma'am?
Houston, Texas.
How long have you lived in Texas?
Oh gosh, almost 15 years now.
Do you work in Texas?
Yes,
How are you employed?
I'm a case manager at MD Anderson Cancer Center.
Where is MD Anderson Cancer Center located?
In Houston, Texas.
How long have you worked for MD Anderson?
I've been there almost 11 years now.
Have you always been a case manager?
No, I started out as a floor nurse.
And so is that a nurse in oncology?
Yes, yes.
$15 years ago, or about that long, when you said you've been in Texas for about 15 years. Where are you originally from?
I'm from Alberta, Canada.
just a little bit louder so all these folks can hear you. Can you say that again? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Alberta, Canada.
And why did you move from Alberta, Canada to Houston or in the Houston, Texas area?
I took a job travel nursing, and I came to UTMB.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I cannot understand you.
If you repeat your answer.
I took a job travel nursing, and I started nursing at UTMB.
And when you say UTMB, what does that mean?
That's the University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston. It's a hospital there.
And it's in Galveston, Texas?
Yes.
Do you know how far away Galveston is from Houston?
It's about an hour's drive.
How long did you work at UTMB in Galveston?
About 3 years.
When you were working there at UTMB in Galveston, did you meet a man named Edward Campbell?
Yes.
And how did you meet?
We were working on the same floor.
And what sort of work did he do?
He was a registered nurse also.
Did you work in oncology at UTMB?
Yes.
Is that your specialty?
Yes.
Did Edward Campbell work as a nurse in oncology?
He did that day. He worked in the float pool, so he'd go wherever the hospital needed him.
Did you say float pool?
Yes.
So he didn't necessarily have a specialty, he just went where the need was for that particular day. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
What year did you guys meet?
Oh, gosh. I think about 2004, 2003.
Was it pretty soon after you moved to Texas?
Yes.
And how did you meet?
We were working on the same floor, talking about computer problems, and he offered to fix my computer.
Was this your personal computer?
Yes.
And from there, did you strike up a dating or a romantic relationship?
Yes.
So did you begin dating in 2003 or 2004?
Yes.
At that time, were you living in different households?
Yes, we lived apart.
Did you ever move in with him?
I
Or
did.
did y'all move in together, I should say?
Yes, I did move in with him.
And where was Edward Campbell living at the time?
I was living in Alvin, Texas,
And what is the address where he was living?
3015 Indian Acres, Alvin, Texas.
And did you move into that residence?
Yes.
About how long did you and Edward date before you moved in with one another?
Maybe a year.
When you met Edward Campbell and began dating him, did Mr. Campbell have any children?
Yes, he had 2 boys.
And what were their names?
Nicholas Campbell and Eric Campbell.
How old was Nicholas when you and Edward began dating, if you remember?
He was 14.
How old was Eric?
He was 10.
Did they live in the home with their father?
Yes.
Do you know where their mom was?
Yes, she was in a nursing home in Waco, Texas.
I'm sorry.
In Waco, Texas.
Did you know her or meet her at all?
I had traveled with them up to the nursing home to see her once.
Do you remember when that was?
No.
Do you know why she was in a nursing home?
She had a brain aneurysm.
when you moved into the Indian Acres residence in Alvin, Texas, were Nicholas Campbell and Eric Campbell living there as well?
Yes.
Describe Edward's relationship with his sons at this time.
They were very tight. It was like the three of them. They were always together, always doing things like gaming, camping. They were tight.
Were you somewhat of an outsider in that three-person relationship?
Absolutely.
Describe your relationship with Nick and Eric when you were dating Edward and living at home.
We were friendly, but I mean, Edward made it very clear that the boys had a mom, that he was a parent, I was not, and that I didn't need to be a part of their lives, they didn't need to discipline them.
Did you say you did not need to discipline them?
Correct.
So, did you ever take on a role of a mother figure or in any way with Edward or Nicholas?
No, they made it clear that they had a mom and that they did not need anyone else.
And when you say they made it clear, who made it clear?
All three of them, Ed, Nicholas, Eric.
While you were dating Edward and living in the home, did you witness any, what you would describe as physical abuse by Edward on Eric or Nicholas?
No.
Was there physical discipline?
Yes.
And what did you see, what did that look like?
When they were younger, he would spank them if they misbehaved.
Would he spank them with his hand?
No, he would use a belt.
Did he spank them on a particular part of their body?
On their buttocks and the back of their legs.
Did you see any other form of physical punishment?
No.
Did you marry Edward Campbell?
Yes,
When were you married?
in 2005.
And at that time, if you remember, how old were Nick and Eric?
12 and 16.
Where were you and Edward married?
Oh gosh. In a little town outside of Houston, Seabrook, Texas.
Was it a big wedding?
No, it was not.
Were Eric and Nicholas involved in the wedding?
They were there. They were part of the wedding party, but they weren't like groomsmen or anything like that.
And after you were married, I take it you all went back to living in the Indian Acres home, is that correct?
Yes.
And did you, at that time, after you were married, in 2005, when Eric was 12 and Nick was 16, did you see any physical discipline by Edward on Eric or Nicholas?
No, they were too old to be spanked.
Did you see any, what form did discipline take once they became what, as you describe, as too old to spank?
Edward would be very intense, would get in their face, be very loud.
see any markings or bruises on Eric or Nick that you couldn't explain?
No,
Did either one of them pull you to the side at any point and describe to you physical abuse that they were taking on by their father?
never.
Did you fear for them?
No,
Did Edward Campbell physically abuse you
no,
in 2005?
no.
Were you still working at UTMB or had you changed jobs?
No, I was still at UTMB.
When did you go to MD Anderson?
Like 2006?
And where was Ed working at the time?
He was still doing like per diem nursing for different hospitals whenever he could pick up a shift.
What does that mean?
He signed on with a company that said, we need you at this particular hospital for one shift, and he didn't have a set schedule or a set employer.
What did your working schedule look like at MD Anderson? What sort of shifts were you working?
Oh, I worked weekends, every Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And then we're off during the week?
Yes,
And Ed worked just when this company called him?
right. He tried to schedule himself Monday through Thursday.
And why that schedule?
Because we had a little girl.
So by this time, you had a child with Edward?
Yes,
How many children do you have with Edward Campbell?
I have 3.
What are their names and when were they born?
Alyssa Campbell, she was born June 18th, 2007. Matthew Campbell, he was March 20th, 2009. And Isaac Campbell, December 13th, 2010.
So at some point, you had a house full of toddlers and little children, is that correct?
Yes,
They were sort of stair steps.
yes.
So in 2007, did Edward lose his nursing license?
Yes,
Do you know the circumstances that surrounded that?
yes, he would stopped on the side of the road and the cops found him with syringes and vials in his pocket.
And were these syringes and vials that had been taken from a place that he was working?
Right, from one of the units that he had been on.
And did he lose his nursing license as a result of that?
Yes.
And so after 2007, what sort of work did Edward do?
He wanted to pursue water well drilling, so he got his truck driving license.
How did that work out?
It was very difficult. It was hard to get jobs that paid anything. It was very expensive running a truck.
How long did that venture last?
You know, I don't remember because he sort of did it for a while where he drove, and then he had his friend. They were trying to be a partnership. His friend drove for a while. Then he sort of tried to do a truck brokering type job.
So did the truck driving venture prove to be a successful business?
Not at all.
And was there any other business that he attempted, that Edward attempted?
Yes, he wanted to do a home-based business. He had one where he built a forge and he was going to make different molds out of metal. He had a miniature train type business.
How were any of these businesses successful?
No,
And did he run these businesses or attempt to run these businesses out of the Indian Acres home?
yes, out of the garage.
Where was the garage located?
Well, we have a garage attached to our house, but he built a second garage in the backyard. It was a discrete building. That's where he had his forge and his businesses.
And by this time, is Nick still living at home?
No, Nicholas has already moved out.
And do you know where he moved to?
A town near Houston, Webster, Texas.
Did he still, after Nicholas moved out, did he still come back to your home?
Yes.
And how would you describe Edward's relationship with Nicholas at this time?
Well, he would come over for dinner. They would make plans where they would go. He would go to their house and play poker. They would come to our house to play poker.
Edward and Nick.
Yes.
Would Eric participate in that
Yes.
as well? So were the three of them friends?
Yes.
And was Eric living at home at this time?
Yes, he was.
Describe the defendant, Eric Campbell, as a teenager.
He seemed pretty typical to me. He didn't want to go to high school, smart.
Did you say didn't want to go to high school?
Yes.
Did he go to high school?
He did 1 year of homeschooling, and then he went back to high school and graduated.
So when he was homeschooled, was anybody actually teaching him? Was he actually doing any learning while he was at home?
We had bought the curriculum. We did try to read it and make him write papers. It was not very successful.
So is that a no, the homeschooling was not a success?
No, yes, it was not a success.
Why was Eric homeschooled, if you know?
His brother had told him that being a freshman, grade 9, was horrible in a small town, and he did not want to go to grade 9.
And he was not made to go.
No.
Did he stay at home so he could babysit your children?
He did babysit them on occasion.
Was he the primary caregiver for your children?
No, I'm the parent.
So, did you still have your schedule of working on the weekends?
Yes.
So you were at home during the week?
Yes.
Did Eric eventually return to public high school or the high school there in Alvin, Texas?
Yes, he did.
Did he graduate from high school?
Yes.
During this time, during his high school or teenage years, describe your relationship with Eric Campbell.
We were just friendly. I mean, he would, tell me like, can you pick up different things for groceries? I'd buy the groceries, whatever sort of supplies. If he needed anything like a ride, or I would give him a ride.
Did you still have the sort of relationship where it was not a mother-son or even a stepmother-stepson type relationship?
Yes, no, I was not acting as his stepmother.
So is it fair to say that you two weren't really engaged in much of a relationship at all other than what you could describe as possibly roommates?
Yes, I mean, we'd watch movies as a family together, but it's the extent of it.
So is it a fair assessment that you and your children were one family with Edward, and Nicholas and Eric and Edward were another family.
Yes.
But did did Eric interact with your children?
Yes.
And were they close? Did they seem to have a close relationship?
Yeah, they enjoyed playing with him. And when he did look after them, they liked him.
And tell me about this, he babysat occasionally. How often would that happen?
I remember, asking him a couple times a month to babysit so we can have like a date night with Ed.
Did the defendant have friends in high school?
Yes, Shane Mormon. The friend that I knew was Shane
Did you know his last name?
Mormon.
Did he live near you guys?
His house backed onto our backyard.
Do you know whether or not the defendant had any girlfriends in high school?
Yes, he dated a girl named Chloe.
Did he date anybody else?
I think there were a couple girls, I don't remember their names.
Did they spend any time at your home in the Indian Acres home? Did he and his girlfriend spend any time there?
I think Chloe would come over a couple times just to say hi and that they were going out to the movies, but no.
Did the defendant spend a lot of time with Chloe away from the house?
Yes.
Did he spend time with his other girlfriends away from the house?
Yes.
Did the defendant work in high school?
I don't remember him having a typical job like working at McDonald's, but I want to say that he would do jobs with his brother.
And did he work in and around your house with Edward?
Like house upkeep?
Or doing any sort of construction work or working anywhere in the house that you recall?
Yes, the house that we lived in was a fixer-upper. There was a lot of jobs that needed doing, like they put a new roof on.
And did the defendant help his dad put a roof on?
Yes.
And if there was any drywall, let's say that needed to be updated or done, did they do that together?
Yes, we all had to do drywall.
Why do you say that?
Because even I know how to sand drywall.
Who taught you how to do that?
Edward.
Was that because you were made to physically to do that, or he just asked you, or you just chipped in because you lived there?
No, it was our house. We were improving it.
And did Nicholas and Eric take part in that as well?
Yes.
So is it fair to say that you sort of all learned skills at that particular time?
Yes.
May I approach your honor?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 132. Do you recognize this?
Yes, it's our wedding photo.
And so was that taken in 2005?
Yes.
And does this fairly and accurately represent the way your wedding and the way, I guess, the family looked in 2005?
Yes.
And would this aid you in illustrating your testimony?
Yes.
The state would move to admit and publish State's Exhibit number 132.
Nick Jack,
Yes.
thank you, Al.
Your Honor, for the record, I have it in Exhibit 133, just in case it's mismarked. I have that wrong, I apologize.
You're correct. It should be 133. I've got the pictures from the new Waverly School District from 120 to 132.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Colonel.
So we will mark this, I'm sorry, as 133. And what is that?
Oh, the wedding photo?
And And who's in it?
Eric, Edward, myself, and Nicholas.
And what ages do you remember that Eric and Nicholas are in this particular picture?
16 and 12.
Did Eric go to the prom?
Yes.
But do you remember who his prom date was?
Yes, he went with Chloe.
And did he drive to the prom?
He drove with Chloe.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 134. Do you recognize it?
I recognize Eric, but that's not my house.
I'm sorry, can you say that louder?
I recognize Eric, but that's not my house.
And how does this, do you know about how old Eric is in this picture?
Probably 17, 18.
And does that fairly and accurately represent him and the way that he looked when he was in high school?
Yes.
Was he driving a car at this point? I mean, was he old enough to drive a car in this picture?
Yes.
Do you remember him dressed up like this and
Yes.
going to some sort of dance
Yes.
or formal event?
Yes, his time matched his girlfriend's.
State would move to admit State's Exhibit 134 and be published to the jury.
You objection?
No, sir.
Make it loud.
And is that the picture that you're viewing, State's Exhibit 134?
It is.
And you say that he appears to be dressed up for some formal event, is that right?
Yes.
And you say you do recall him coming by the house or at your Indian Acres residence, is that correct?
Yes. Him and
But
Chloe.
that's not your home, is that right?
Correct.
What kind of car did Eric drive in high school?
A Honda Accord.
Did he buy the car himself?
He did. He bought it from me.
After the defendant graduated from high school, did he move out of the Indian Acres residence?
Yes, he did.
Do you know how old he was when that happened?
Probably around 18. It was right after high school.
Why did he move out?
Edward had told him that he needed to either get a job or be in school, that he couldn't just stay in our house and play on the computer all day.
Is that what he was doing?
Yes.
So, where did he move to, if you know?
He moved to his friend's grandmother's garage apartment.
Is the friend being Shane Woman who you spoke of before?
Yes.
How far away was that, if you know, from your house?
It was in like the next little town. It was only a couple miles from our house.
After Eric moved out, did he continue to come back to your home?
All the time. He would come for dinner, do laundry.
Did you see Edward physically abuse Eric after he moved out of the house?
No, I did not.
Did you see the two of them get in any sort of verbal altercation?
Yes.
What did that look like?
A lot of posturing. Edward would be right in his face, swearing, yelling.
But would he put his hands on him that you saw?
No, they'd do the chest thumping.
Did Eric participate in that as well?
He would yell back.
Did he chest bump back that you saw?
No.
Did Edward yell at you?
He did at the end.
I'm sorry?
He has, and yes.
And would it be the same sort of technique, just kind of in your face, yelling?
Yes.
Was he like that your whole marriage?
No.
When would you say that started?
Probably the last 2 years we were together, 2012.
Beginning in 2012?
Yes.
Did you know whether Eric Campbell was using any illegal drugs?
I know he smoked marijuana
How do you know that?
because he would leave his supplies at the house.
Was Edward using any illegal drugs?
Yes, when we found his supplies, Edward would take the opportunity.
So when you found Eric's supplies, and when you say supplies, I'm taking it you're referring to the marijuana.
Marijuana and a bong.
Did you know of any other illegal drugs that, or any drugs at all that Edward was taking?
Edward's taking antidepressants and Adderall.
Were those prescribed to him?
Yes.
In 2012, you say that that's when sort of their arguments began. Edward would get in your face and yell. What did you notice about Edward starting around 2012?
He was just becoming depressed.
And how did this depression, or what you say is depression, how did that manifest itself in your house? I mean, what symptoms did you see in Edward?
Very irritable, wouldn't sleep, just didn't want to hang out with any of our friends, be very,
Just sort of stay at home?
yes.
Was there any paranoia that accompanied this?
He got very paranoid probably about the last 3-4 months that we were together.
So would that be in the sort of summer months of 2014?
Yes.
And why do you say he was paranoid?
He would accuse me of having affairs. He felt that people were spying on him.
If you know, did Eric Campbell observe this behavior, or did you point this behavior out to Eric?
Yes, I did.
And when did you do that?
When me and Ed would fight because he thought something was going on, I would ask him, I said, "You talk to the boys. They'll tell you that that is not true," because he listened to them.
He listened to, when you say the boys, do you mean Eric and Nick?
Yes.
And why would you tell him to go talk to Eric and Nick? Other than they would listen to them, what is it that you thought they knew?
Ed trusted them. I mean, they could tell him that, they have never seen me with another guy. He could tell them that anything that Ed thought there was, programs on our computer that were recording things, that they could tell them that that's just not true, that not.
And on the flip side of that, if they said that you were cheating, do you believe he would have trusted that?
Yes.
Did you see or know that Eric did anything to address these issues that you raised with Eric? About his father being paranoid, you believed he was depressed, anything like that?
Edward would report back that he had talked to them, but I wasn't privy to what they said and whether it helped.
Were you concerned about Edward?
Yes.
Did you voice your concerns to his boys?
Yes.
And what did Eric say in response to that, if anything?
They just kind of laughed it off. Just thought, Dad's just being Dad, parents don't know anything, kind of that typical teenager attitude.
And did you voice these after Eric had already moved out of the house?
I'm sorry?
So when you're voicing these concerns, when you're voicing these concerns to Eric about Edward's depression and paranoia, was he living away from the home at that time?
Yes, when he would come for dinner or to do laundry, I'd say, have you talked to him? Like, or you spent any time with him?
And what would Eric say?
Sometimes he had, and other times he had not talked
Did
to
he
him.
express any concern to you?
No,
Did he express any concern about any illegal drug use that Edward was doing?
no,
Did he describe to you that Edward was using some form of methamphetamines?
no,
Were you using methamphetamines?
no,
Did you ever see Eric use any methamphetamines?
no,
Did Edward force anyone in your household that you know of to smoke meth or use meth in any form or fashion? By meth, I'm sorry, I mean methamphetamines.
not that more, no,
Have you ever seen that at all?
no,
In the time that you, from 2003 until the time of 2014, September of 2014, have you ever seen anything that you believe to be corporal punishment that crossed some sort of line?
I don't believe in spanking with a belt, so I thought that was excessive.
Did you see anything other than that?
No,
Did Edward Campbell assault you on September the 19th, I guess the evening hours into the early morning hours of September the 20th of 2014?
yes,
And where did that assault occur?
in our house in Alvin, Texas.
Is that on the Indian Acres property?
Yes,
Had you been at work the day of September the 19th of 2014?
yes,
What time did you get home from work?
around 6:30.
Is that in the evening?
Yes,
How long was your shift?
I worked from 8 in the morning to 4:30.
So, why didn't you get home until 6 o'clock?
Traffic, having to pick up the boys from daycare.
Your children were in daycare?
You know, intermittently they were in daycare. I don't think they were in daycare that particular day.
Did you say they were in daycare that particular day or they were not? I'm sorry.
We're not.
And you were working in Houston?
Yes,
And how was traffic?
horrible.
And what happened when you got home between 6 or 6:30 on September the 19th?
I walked in and saw that the house was a mess. And Alyssa had said that she hadn't gone to school, and I asked Edward about that.
Alyssa being your oldest daughter?
Yes.
And what did Edward say?
He started arguing with me that she didn't need to go to school.
And what happened next?
We continued to argue about that, and he became very upset and hit me.
And where did he hit you?
In the face.
And where were you in your house when that happened?
In the kitchen.
Were all of your children there?
I think probably 2 of them were in the dining room and one might have been in the living room.
So not there in the kitchen at that point? Or were the kitchen and dining room all one area?
Kitchen and dining room are all one area.
And so after he hit you, what happened next?
We just continued arguing. He decided that we would go to the bedroom so that we wouldn't be fighting in front of the kids.
And what happened when you got into the bedroom?
He threatened to kill me.
And what happened next?
He wanted me to admit that I was having an affair. He pulled out a gun and said that he would shoot me if I didn't admit it.
Were you having an affair?
No.
Did he name anybody specifically that he thought you were having, with whom he thought you were having an affair?
No, we just thought it was somebody from work.
And after he pulled out a gun and threatened you, what happened next?
He said that this was it, that he was going to kill me, so I asked him if I could say goodbye to the kids.
Did you believe he would kill you?
Yes.
Had he ever threatened you like that before?
No.
Had he ever hit you before?
No.
Had he ever displayed a gun at you before?
He has 3 guns. I've seen him with guns before, but he never pointed them at me before.
Did you ever see him point the guns that he had at Eric Campbell?
No.
Did you ever see him hit Eric Campbell with a gun?
No.
Did Eric ever complain to you or talk to you and say that he had been hit with a gun or threatened with a gun?
No.
When you asked to say goodbye to your children, what happened next?
He did call them into the room one at a time and told me that if I gave them any indication that something was wrong, that he would kill me in front of them and I would traumatize them forever.
Did he say that with them in the room?
No. This was before they came.
Were they called into the room?
Yes.
And what happened?
I hugged them and tried talking with them for a little while until Ed said that's enough, and he would send one out and call the next one in.
So you did it one by one?
Yes.
Was Edward Campbell displaying a gun when this happened?
He had it behind him so that he wouldn't scare the kids.
And did they each one come in?
Yes, they did.
And what happened next?
He wanted to call either Nicholas or Eric to come and get the kids because he didn't want them in the house with my body or CPS to come get them. So we went like upstairs to the computer room so that I could call them.
And what were you doing when this happened?
He dragged me with him.
So you were taken upstairs to the computer room at that point?
Yes.
And what happened when you got up there?
He started hitting me again, asking me who I'd been with, why I was doing this to him.
And what were you saying, if anything, to him while this was going on?
Saying that I was not doing anything. I could say that I can show you. There is no emails. There is nothing.
And what happened next?
He was having trouble getting the computer on. He made me sit in the chair. He tipped it over, and then he was kneeling on my chest.
And what happened next?
Nicholas came over.
Was that because he was called, or you don't know?
No, I think he just randomly came over.
Did he do that? I mean, did he?
Yeah, they always pop by. We never locked the door. They always just showed up when they needed to.
And was that pretty often
Yes,
for Nicholas and Eric?
yes.
And when Nicholas arrived, how did you know that that was him? How did you know that he was there?
I heard the front door open, and Nicholas said hi.
And what happened next?
I was still on the ground, and I said, Nicholas, help. And Ed told him to leave.
Did he leave?
Yes.
Could you see Nicholas, could you see him, or did you only hear him?
I could only hear him.
So could he see you?
No.
Did he know the condition that you were in, as far as you know? I mean, he couldn't see what was going on. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, no, he could only see the way the house looked. He could not see me.
And did Nicholas leave?
Yes.
And what happened next?
I think we went down to the kitchen, and he was trying to program his phone, and then we just traveled from like room to room in the house. He was just trying to find some proof that I was cheating, that I was doing something.
Was there any reasoning with him at all?
No.
What happened after you were going from room to room?
We ended up back upstairs again.
And what happened next?
Then Eric came over.
And how do you know that?
Again, I could hear the front door open, and he called Dad.
And did you recognize his voice?
Yes.
And what happened?
Edward said that if he didn't want to clean up blood, he needed to leave now.
And what happened?
Eric left.
Did he see you?
No.
Had he seen you and Edward in verbal altercations before?
Yes.
By the time you were in September of 2014, were you and Edward fighting, and when I say fighting, I mean verbally fighting, quite regularly?
Yes.
And so was that something that was commonplace?
Yes.
And what happened next?
He decided that he would go to the garage, his shed, his separate garage, and he put a noose around my neck.
And what happened next?
He hit me a bunch of times. He asked me how he could get into my workplace, where my ID was, where my office was located. He rigged up some kind of a dead man's weight that if I moved off the chair that I would strangle to death.
Did you tell him how to get into your work?
Yes.
And did he try that?
Yes, he took my my office keys, my badge, and he left.
And what happened next?
He came back probably about a half hour, 45 minutes later, saw that I had gotten an arm free. And then he hit me some more and then felt that he couldn't leave me alone, so he took me into the house.
So were you tied up?
Yes,
Your wrists tied?
yes.
And what happens next?
He just kept saying that he was very tired, and we sat on the couch for a while, and I said, let's just go to bed. We can deal with all of this in the morning. It's been a very long, long night.
So all of these things that started at 6 o'clock and you're moving upstairs and all around the house and outside, is this taking place over hours of time?
Yes, it was constant moving from one room to another, just listening to him rant and ask me for the proof.
And I'm sorry, if we can back up just a little bit. When you say you were out in his shed and that Edward hit you, what did he hit you with?
He had a metal pipe, and he said he would break my legs so that I couldn't escape.
And once you were back into the house, and he said he was tired, and you encouraged him to go to sleep, what happened?
He finally agreed to, go lie down. So we went back to the bedroom and we laid down. He laid there for a long time with the gun on his chest, pointed at me.
Where were your children?
He had sent them upstairs to one of the bedrooms.
Did they see any of this assault?
Yes.
Did they see you outside?
No.
And so as you were laying on the bed, what happened next?
I just waited until he was actually asleep. And then when he was asleep, I got up and he'd left a gun on the table, and I took it because I didn't want the kids to find it. And I took the gun and I got in the car and I drove to my daughter's school.
How far is your daughter's school from your home?
4 or 5 miles.
Why did you drive there?
We live out in the country, and that's the closest place that's not a county road, that's got lights and people around.
And did you call for help?
I did.
And after you called, did you call 911 or the emergency system?
Yes, I called 911.
And what did you do next?
The sheriff met me at the school and asked me to drive with them back to the house so I could point it out to them.
Did you do that?
Yes.
And what happened next?
They told me to wait at the end of the driveway, and they went inside and did what they do.
You weren't in there with them?
No.
Was Edward arrested?
Yes.
Do you live in Brazoria County, Texas? Is Alvin,
Yes.
I'm sorry, is Alvin in Brazoria County, Texas?
Yes.
What time did you call, or did you get away from your house and you were able to call anybody for help?
It was about 5:30 in the morning.
Did you have injuries that were visible on your body?
Yes.
And were those documented at all?
The police took a couple pictures at the scene, and then a week later I went to the sheriff's office and they took more pictures.
Ms. Smoke, I'm showing you what has been marked as State's Exhibits number 135 through 153. If you will just take a moment and look through each one of those and see if you recognize them. Do you recognize these?
Yes.
And are these the photographs that you said were taken by the sheriff about a week after this assault happened?
Yes.
And were all of these pictures taken there at the sheriff's office in Brazoria County?
Yes.
Do they fairly and accurately represent the way that you looked on that day as a result of the assault that you have described here?
Yes, they do.
And would these photos aid you in illustrating your testimony?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit into evidence State's Exhibits 135 through 153 for illustrative purposes.
You got it. You can do that way.
Your Honor, permission to publish those?
Yes, ma'am.
If I can draw your attention to the screen. This is State's Exhibit 135. That looks to be 3 different images. Can you describe what we're seeing here?
There's a bruising on my face and arms and chin.
And State's Exhibit 136.
A black eye and some more bruises on my face.
And did you sustain those as a result of this attack?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 137. If you can describe that.
The other side of my face with bruises and marks on my chin.
Number 138.
A black eye, a split lip, and some bruising on my ear.
State's Exhibit 139.
My chin and more bruising on my neck.
Number 140. Is that a close-up of the other pictures that we've seen
Yes.
around your eye?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 141. There's 2 images there. Can you describe that?
Those are bruises from when it kneeled on my chest, and then marks on my arm from when he hit me.
State's Exhibit 142.
Bruises on my shoulder and arm.
State's Exhibit 143.
Bruises and a scratch.
Did he burn you or scratch you in any way that you know of?
Scratched.
But was there anything other than his fist that you described, or the gun that you described, or the metal pipe that you described?
No, just those.
State's Exhibit 144.
Bruising on the back of my neck and more of my back.
State's Exhibit 145.
bruising to my shoulder and back and left arm.
States 146. Is that a close-up of your shoulder?
Yes.
States 147.
Huge bruise where he hit me with a pipe on my leg.
States 148. Is that a close-up of states 147?
Yes.
And states 149. Is that a different angle of the same bruising, same injury?
Yes, same leg.
States 150.
Bruising to my shin.
States 151.
Bruise on my knee.
As you guys were moving throughout the house, were you falling or wrestling or bumping into furniture or things like that?
It was pushing me into the walls and furniture, hitting me.
States 152.
Another bruise on my other leg.
And states 153.
Bruising to my knee.
That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our evening recess at this point. During our evening recess period, the duty of all of you not to talk among yourselves about this case. It's duty not to talk to anyone else, to allow anyone else to talk with you, to say anything in your presence about this case. If anyone communicates with you in any way, in any fashion, email, Facebook, you overhear something, see something, need to let the sheriff know that and come in. Have no contact, communication with anyone participating in this trial. Don't do any individual research or investigation on you. I don't know about any issue in this case. And do not form or express any opinion about this case during this time. With that, while everyone else remains seated, I'm going to excuse the 18 of you and ask that you return and assemble in the jury room tomorrow morning at 9:30. With that, you are excused. The record should reflect all the jurors absent from the courtroom. Anything the record say?
Nothing on behalf of the state, Your Honor.
Anything there?
Yes, sir.
If Sheriff can recess us tomorrow morning now.
Everyone stand. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. Brown County Superior Court is in recess until 9:30 tomorrow morning. God save the state of the court. You may leave.